stars who brought you RuPaul's Drag Race and $1 Million Listing. This is World of Wonder's Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm Fenton Bailey, co-founder of World of Wonder. Joining me is Tom Campbell, our Chief Creative
Officer.
Yes,
Salute.
officer and a gentleman. And James St. James.
What is James?
What can you say about me?
James St. James, literary sensation, twisted mind.
Hello,
Talent
welcome.
extraordinaire. Yes, thank you.
Too kind.
Each week we count down the top 10 things that make us go,
Wow.
This week, jump in our hot tub time machine as we jump back 10 years to review the top 10 things that made us go,
Wow.
in
2007.
2007 was 10 years ago.
It's crazy because literally to me it seems like it was yesterday. All the things that we are going to talk about today literally happened yesterday in my mind.
I think it is the most important year in history, so don't go anywhere.
I disagree with that, and I know that Blake, our millennial producer, this is his favorite year in existence.
Blake, why
It changed my life.
Why? What?
We'll let our viewers listen to the countdown and make up their own minds.
Decide, yeah.
Okay.
I moved here. I started at WoW.
Well,
There
say
you
no
go.
more, yes.
And that's number 10.
Well, without further ado, Tom.
Number 10.
2007 was defined to me by two names that were often together: Paris Hilton and Lindsay Lohan. Now, like Blake, I started at World of Wonder around 2007. I started in the mid-2006. But what I did not realize is that Ledoux, the famous club, is in our parking lot, or was in our parking lot, no longer exists. Ledoux was the hot spot like in the 90s, and in the 2000s it was like Party Girl Central.
Yeah.
And I would leave work, and literally in our parking lot, and it would still be daylight, and I'd park my things, and then I would go on Perez Hilton, also a name from 2007,
right?
Who kind of revolutionized blogs. We were talking about how...
Did it launch? No.
No, it was launched before that, but 2007 was Perez's year.
It was when it really crystallized
Perez
for him.
was peak Perez.
Yeah, peak Perez.
Peak Perez. And I would leave the parking lot, and it all seemed fine, and then I would read on Perez Hilton, like Lindsay Lohan got into a fight at Ledoux.
Right.
And when I came in the mornings, I'd be stepping over like hair extensions and broken fingernails and blood.
Little Coke vials. And
I realized, it took me months to realize, probably until 2007 to realize, oh my God, Ledoux and everything that happens right there.
You thought that things were just very wild at World of Wonder.
I thought it was your stuff. In 2007, Paris was 25 years old. Now, in 2006, leading up to, she got a DUI on the way to In-N-Out Burger right down the street. Those were the days.
Oh, the one just up there?
Yes.
Oh,
and she said she had one margarita on an empty stomach, which I can totally relate to.
Yes.
So in
This
2000,
is so forensically interesting.
in 2007, she pleaded no contest to reckless driving, and she was sentenced to 3 years probation and $1,500 fine.
And that was the beginning.
But then a month later,
Yeah.
she was pulled over for allegedly speeding and having no headlights on. And I swear to God, it's the pink Bentley. It's like some ridiculous car. And she was cited for driving without a suspended license. Her Bentley was impounded. And on May 4th, she was sentenced to 45 days in jail.
Oh, and I remember it like it was like the helicopters and the
well,
paparazzi and the,
I have a
and
story.
the screaming headlines and
We at World of Wonder were doing one of my first shows here called Trans American Love Story, starring Calpurnia Adams, and it was a pilot for Logo before RuPaul's Drag Race, and it was a very straightforward bachelor, but it was about Calpurnia's search for love, and she's a trans woman, and we had to do a pilot for them for some reason because who knows what that will look like. So we found a great house in the Hollywood Hills, and it was all going to be shot outside in one day, and we were going to replicate every moment of the dating thing. And we get there, and helicopters, you could not hear yourself think, because we were right near, who knew, Paris Hilton's house, and every media outlet. It was my Vietnam. And we literally were like, we I don't know what to do. We only have a day to shoot this. So I said, shoot the helicopters, and we'll just do an arrow at the beginning of the thing saying, this was shot the day that Paris Hilton.
the day that lives in infamy.
Yes.
Right.
And we were all freaking out. People were watching TV, and it was this whole frenzy. And it's like, they're moving down downtown.
Well, I remember I was in the office, and the boulevard here was like, and everybody rushed to the windows and looked out, and it was Paris Hilton going to.
It was like this Bronco chase. It was a bit
like
that.
It was.
Yeah,
Yes.
She went to the 2007 MTV Movie Awards, which we'll talk about later, and then she turned herself in.
So that was Sunday, right? That was Sunday.
And she spent how many days behind jail? Like several days in jail.
No, she was there for 2 weeks, wasn't she?
I
That's
think
a
it
long
was
time.
30-something days.
Yes.
No, not
Yes. She spent a lot of time. I have it written down. I can't find it. But she spent a substantial amount of time. And her words when she got sentenced was like, "Mom, it's not right, Mom." I mean, they were really mean to Paris Hilton, this is pre-Kardashians, my friends. This is Paris Hilton at her peak, at her end. And Lindsay, also that year, was in and out of rehab. I have a personal connection to that because I used to work for Svetka Vodka while I worked here. And Svetka Vodka got Lindsay Lohan we sponsored her 21st birthday party, but I guess when you have a DUI, it's not good for alcohol to have.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that happened. But she was taken into custody, and it was this time, same thing. When Lindsay was rushed to the courthouse, I knew now, when I was happened to be in my bedroom in West Hollywood, when I hear helicopters, I knew to turn on the television. It's like, Lindsay's going to the courthouse today. So.
And I remember just that jubilation when she got out, and like the parties and the way, I mean, just the paparazzi. But it was just chaos. That whole year was chaos with those two.
In contrast to Paris, she spent 84 minutes.
Right.
In the Limbo County Jail because it was overcrowded. I mean, I'm making fun of they were going through tough times, but it was like it was the party girls, and the party was about to end, was ending, and crashing around them.
And yet, what was happening to them was the party, and there was sort of this whole feeling of like the world is exploding, but we're all having. Like we're all going down together in a blaze of glory.
Well, we weren't going to jail, and I think it's so clear that she was singled out and punished for being Paris Hilton. And I think it's always worth remembering that the justice system is not really. It's not really about.
No, but come on. On the flip side of that, it was white privilege. It was a rich girl who had gotten was getting away.
Jail then.
No,
right?
no, but she was getting away with so much that it was about time that that these rich white kids were just trashing the world, and it was time for somebody to pay the price.
Okay.
But I think Paris has rehabilitated herself well.
Beautifully. Yeah.
Lindsay's still alive, because I'll just end with this, which is we write like jokes for Snatch Game on Drag Race, and it's so easy. Like Lindsay Lohan is such a blank, and I'm like, we can't do Lindsay jokes for years because I just don't know if she's gonna be alive next year. So the fact that Lindsay is with us and well, God bless Paris and Lindsay, the queens.
Stick
of
around.
2007.
Please stay with us.
Not to be
definitely.
the pooper on this one too. I'm sorry, but Lindsay did just she voted for Trump, and she's been telling us all to support Trump, and she's sort of like she's not quite
That's
the lovable
why
Lindsay.
I tend to live in 2007 in my mind.
That's the sunny side of the street.
Thank you.
James, we're ready for number 9. What have you got?
Number 9.
2007 to me was defined by 3 words. High School Musical 2. Wait a minute. Let me try that again.
That's 3 words in a number.
Anyway.
Wait a minute. Not High School Musical. High School Musical 2.
What was so good about 2?
Was it like Grease 2? What
I
was
thought
it? What made
one
it so special?
was the thing.
No, High School Musical 2 was it. It was the best movie of all time.
Dunkirk? Forget about Dunkirk.
It was so
Dunkirk? What's
good.
Dunkirk?
Can I tell you? Well, first of all, High School Musical, I was 40 when it came out. I was a little past its, the target audience. I remember going to Target to buy the DVD, and it was a little like buying porn. Like, so you sort of like averted the eyes of the cashier. You hoped that nobody you knew was behind you. And then this came out on the Disney Channel. It smashed all cable records. It attracted 17 million views. It was the most watched cable telecast in history. It beat this Giants versus the Cowboys game that like everybody still talks about.
That's sports?
Yeah. Okay. It also broke viewing records in Latin America, Mexico, and the UK. It was the biggest thing Disney has ever done. It swept the Nickelodeon Awards and the Teen Choice Awards and People's Choice Awards and Golden Globe. Like everybody, it was really good. Kenny Ortega was the mastermind behind it, of course.
Oh.
And Kenny Ortega is so good with those big musical dance numbers and everything like that. And this opens with one of the most jubilant, exuberant dance numbers, musical numbers in musical history. It's so good. It's called What Time Is It? And it's when the school, it's like the whole thing, it has nothing to do with high school or musicals because it's set during summer vacation and they're all working at a country club. So it doesn't make any sense.
Problem with the sequel.
Yeah. But the first scene is the clock is ticking down to when school is getting out and everyone's like, summer, 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 and everyone's chanting it. And then the entire school does this huge dance number and they're throwing papers around and they're dancing and they're doing the wave and they're bouncing basketballs on each other. And it's absolutely fantastic. It's so good. The other big number that you've got to pay attention to in this one is Zac Efron's big dance number.
Was
Big
this
what?
his breakout thing? Or was he in the first one too?
He was in the first one,
Okay.
but I'll tell you what the difference in this one is he was dubbed. He had Marnie Nixon sing.
It wasn't his singing voice?
No, it wasn't his singing voice in the first one. In this one, they let him sing. He has this huge number where he's on a golf course and he's singing by himself and he is emoting like Celine Dion. He's dancing like Michael Jackson. It is.
So this is peak Zach.
He's racing around this golf course, and it's so embarrassing and so cringeworthy because it's the dance that launched 1,000 gay rumors is what it is because he is as flamboyant as you are ever
He
going
doesn't have
to see
a straight
him.
line. It's a little loose.
And in fact, there was for many years on the internet, they had this dance number. They had the scene from High School Musical 2 set to Kate Bush's Wuthering Heights, and it syncs up absolutely perfectly. It was brilliant, but then they took it down because they.
But you can do that at home yourself, I guess.
You can do it at home yourself. It's really fun because Zach he's still so adorable. He's all roided out now and weird looking. I don't like him anymore.
He's sweet. He's still a big star, 10 years and going
He
strong.
is, yeah. Lucas Grabeel is really adorable. He dresses like Fenton in it, and I think that you would enjoy that.
I don't know what that means.
Ashley Tisdale, the Tiz, is channeling Paris Hilton in it.
Yes.
She has a number of singing where it's like watching Paris Hilton. It's absolutely it's a wonder.
And what about Vanessa Hudgens?
Vanessa Hudgens? Whatever.
I love Vanessa Hudgens.
The queen of boho, the queen of Coachella.
There are worse things she could do.
Well, to immerse yourself in 2007, you can watch High School Musical 2 on, guess where, James? Netflix, of course.
Watch it tonight.
I will.
Number 8.
So for number 8, I wanted to remember Tammy Faye because she passed away in the summer of 2007.
Tammy Faye Baker Mesner, right?
Yes. I don't know how I first came across Tammy Faye, but I mean, of course, she was on PTL. Praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord.
They were the sort of number one televangelists, and
We're
they
blessed.
were,
We're blessed. We're blessed. We're blessed. We're
Now,
blessed.
were you aware of her before the scandal? Because I think the scandal is when I first started paying attention
Well,
to
right.
her.
It's that sort of no press is bad press kind of thing. The scandal really cemented her
In
and
the
Jim's
80s.
place in the culture in like 86, something like
Yeah.
that, PTL. And then funnily enough, when Randy and I were playing in the Pop-Tarts, we went down, we were on tour. I mean, in a van. I mean, oh, God.
Sexy.
Do not.
This is Randy and Fenton, the founder of World of Wonder. They had a band called the Fabulous
Pop-Tarts.
Pop-Tarts.
And we
Google it.
went with Michael Musto and the all-girl band on tour. And we went to, we were playing in Atlanta, and we went to PTL. We visited.
Heritage USA.
Heritage USA, which was, here's the thing, they were very successful. I mean, they were really pioneers of television. I think if you look at breakfast TV, that kind of studio hangout, that was their vision.
They were on late at night because when TV stations used to
Yeah.
go off the air, they would be on late, and I in high school would sit and watch them. I didn't know why.
Mesmerizing.
I didn't know
Mesmerizing.
why.
And of course, they made, one reason why is they made puppets out of yogurt pots.
And
That's one reason why.
and her outfits and her wigs and her eyelashes
And her singing. I remember
and her
the
singing and her
songs.
those
Right.
fashions. I mean, she was
But
just as
here's the
camp as
thing
could
about
be.
her. Camp as can be, but not really necessarily typical star material. She was short. She didn't have beautiful eyes. You know, she had those trademark eyes, but she made those by tattooing on her makeup. I mean, so she really. I always
It's
think
just
of you,
sheer
James.
force of
I always think
personality.
of you because you said if you've got a hump throw a little glitter on it, honey. And that's what she did.
She threw a lot of glitter on it.
She did. And you know what else I think? You know, like Warhol's Marilyn is such a sort of iconic image, the sort of slightly misaligned, grotesque colors. I think he was inspired by Tammy Faye. I think Tammy Faye did that before Warhol even painted.
Do you remember there was a T-shirt in the 80s?
Oh,
that was
yes.
popular?
I ran into Tammy at the wall.
And it would be a big smudge of Tammy Faye.
But Tammy Faye was dedicated to television. She spoke television absolutely fluently. And after the scandal embroiled them, she divorced Jim and she kept on her own. And we made a documentary, The Eyes of Tammy Faye, which was really the beginning of World of Wonder, I think.
And
really.
so worth seeing today. It's amazing.
And you know what? She really touched us.
Yeah.
You know, I love her to death to this day.
And
I
became
think
lifelong friends.
Lifelong friends, and she was such a great person. And what was key about their ministry, and this is very important, it wasn't based on hatred, it wasn't based on exclusion, it wasn't based on you're going to go and burn in hell. Tammy was a come one, come all Christian. And actually, that was heresy amongst these Christian
Sure,
people.
where they use that for power and separation.
Exactly.
Was it God didn't make any junk or any dirt, or what was
We're
her?
all made of the same old dirt,
Yeah.
and God didn't make any junk. I love every day. It makes me tingle.
Yeah.
It just moves me so much. So Tammy Faye passed away after a long battle with cancer. In fact, funnily enough, this is a little grotesque, but Tammy came to us when she was diagnosed with cancer. Her cancer had come back. She said, I'm going to die. I want you to document this. Follow me through the
different
end.
documentary,
A different documentary called
Death-defying.
Thank you. And you know why it's called Death Defying? Because she didn't die. And we've been making the film for about a year, and the funders were like, hang on, when are we going to get this film? And we were like, well, she's cancer-free. So we were like, Tammy Faye, Death Defying. And
Amen.
good for her. Yes, amen to Tammy Faye.
10 years she's been gone. Wow.
Miss her every day. We got to take a quick commercial break, right? Yeah?
Yeah.
Hey, trivia question, guys.
A
I
2007
know this is why
trivia
you-
question.
yes. Okay, so Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up was a huge hit in 1987.
Mm-hmm.
But what happened 20 years later in 2007? You're listening to the Wow Report 2007 on Radio Andy SiriusXM.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report.
Welcome back to the Wow Report, our countdown of the top 10 things that made us go wow. Not this week,
Wow.
but not this week, but but in 2007, 10 years ago, we're doing a little sort of acid flashback.
Which I still contend is one of the most important years in pop culture.
We
2007.
haven't quite figured out why yet, but we will.
Pay
right?
attention.
Okay.
High School Musical 2.
Okay, so the question was 1987, which was
30 years ago.
20 years before 2007.
Yeah.
Rick Astley had a huge hit with Never Gonna Give You Up.
Never Gonna.
So what happened in 2007?
Well, obviously, this was when YouTube was first blowing up, and it was the Rick rolled, and,
Yes.
and all of that was going on.
What
And it was-
is Rick rolling? Can you explain?
It was you get Rick rolled. You've been Rick
What
rolled.
is Rick
You've
rolling?
been Rick rolled.
What was that?
What is that?
It's when
You just like open up an email or something, and it's Rick Astley.
never
is
gonna give you up. Never gonna let you
So you think it's
go.
one thing, and suddenly you got the Rick
got-
Astley
yeah.
video. Yeah.
Let's get that going again.
Let's.
I miss being Rick rolled.
According to legend, in May of 2007, a 4chan user named Moot posted a link to Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up music video in a video game fan board, claiming it was a link to a sneak preview of Grand Theft Auto 4.
Oh, and then
Yeah.
everyone was Rick rolled.
Okay.
I love it.
Moving on, number 7, 2007, Tom.
Number 7.
2007 was the debut of the most important show on television after RuPaul's Drag Race. Keeping Up with the Kardashians. And did you know that World of Wonder almost produced Keeping Up with the Kardashians?
We totally blew it. We totally blew it. This is why we're here today.
Exactly.
Can
you
our
imagine how
sleazy-
big our window would be if we had produced
The
Keeping Up with
billions
the
that would have
Kardashians?
trickled down to all of us. Oh, it's just so sad.
I think there was a publicist who knew them, who we knew maybe because we had done a Perez Hilton show for a brief time at
Right,
VH1.
right,
And he was
right.
like, would you like to meet with Kris Jenner
And we were like,
and
who?
Kim Kardashian. I'm like, well, I know Kris Jenner because she used to do Mike and Maddie, the talk show that I worked on, and she and Bruce back in the 90s would just want to be on TV, and she would wrap Christmas gifts on air, like, and here we have Kris and Bruce Jenner, and they're going to teach us how to wrap a Christmas gift. They would do anything. And she was smart because she was getting Bruce in front of the cameras to up his feed. And Kim, and they're like, she's the girl with the sex tape. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. And yet, in 2006, 2007 is when Paris, who was out every night with Britney or Lindsay, all of a sudden there was this dark hair girl behind her, and that was Kim Kardashian. So they came to our office.
They did.
You were not here. You were out of town.
Wasn't.
You may have been adopting.
And I was becoming a dad. Yeah.
And they were both in like juicy sweats, like velour sweats.
Juicy was very 2007.
Bubble sunglasses. They walked into the conference room, and they were saying, we have this sort of rough pilot we did. No one wants it at E, but we're like, oh my God, you guys. And she talked about Bruce and the blended families. We're like, you're the modern, Brady Bunch. It's so fantastic, and we love them and love them and love them. And they left, and we felt really good about it. You have those meetings, you feel really good. And then we got pass, and they did some research on us. They Googled us. And because World of Wonder in the past had done some documentaries and docuseries behind the scenes of the adult entertainment world with
Steve
Hirsch.
101 Rent Boys too,
and they were and they were right then in the scandal or the entrepreneurial
so
debut.
It didn't really dovetail very well.
They didn't want to be with World of Wonder because we were attached to now. There's a lot of rumors about the sex tape, with Ray J and Kim Kardashian, which came out February 2007.
Well, right? Yes.
And was it leaked? Was it found? Did they sell it? Were they in collusion? The new
Are they still making money off of
Well,
it?
here's the fact: that tape could not have come out without everybody's agreement.
Right,
Yeah.
and they kind of admit to that. But how did it get there? But for some reason we were dirty and
Somehow
they were clean.
we were tarred with the brush.
We were the Russians.
We didn't release
We were the
tape.
Russians in that one. So the time frame is kind of amazing because February 2007, the tape came out.
Right.
They were suing and all that kind of stuff. But on October 14th, 2007, the Keeping Up with the Kardashians started. Remember, it was a half hour and it was a sitcom
And really, the first example of the sex tape will not ruin your career.
Right.
It will
No,
make
that
your
was
career.
Paris.
Right,
But that's true. One night in Paris.
But Paris, it boosted Paris, but Kim took it to the next level,
Yeah.
and the family was able to protect her. They made it part of the story. I'll just say so much has happened. I don't need to talk about the Kardashians, but they have been through. This is just Khloe, Kim, and Kourtney. They have been linked to 19 men. They've had 3 marriages, 2 divorces, 5 kids. And, Caitlyn has transitioned. And I would count 2 transitions if you count Kylie's lips and butt because they look nothing. And think about it. Kylie and Kendall in 2007 were just on the side. They were just sort of like, they were on the bench waiting to become stars. And whenever there was a scene, it would be like Bruce driving them to school and they'd be in the back seat making sounds like, meh, meh, meh. They never made sense. They were just like, Mom, oh, embarrassed. And they didn't even interview them. And now Kendall and Kylie are possibly bigger than the older sisters.
That's the brilliance of Kris Jenner, who knows that you got to bring the back ones up front and
the
keep it
success story
moving
of our times, really.
So they give so much. I am a Kardashian fan. I always have been. Love them, hate them. They have impacted the culture.
Absolutely.
And it's been 10 years. And anything that lasts for 10 years and is going strong is not a fluke. Is not you're dumb. Is not you got no talent.
Quick little trivia question.
Yes,
Do you know how many spinoffs that they've had?
I'm going to guess
Miami
15.
3, 4, Revenge Body.
Well, this is
the publicity show.
Just on 7.
I'm gonna say
But if you count,
I'm not
like
counting Cocktails with
Chloe's,
Khloe. I'm not counting Cocktails with Khloe. I want to say 10.
7.
Damn it.
Wow, that's an amazing thing. James, number 6.
Number 6.
Well, 2007, one of the biggest tragedies of my lifetime was the death of Brooke Astor at age 105.
No one saw it coming. It was a shock. I had lunch with the day before. We were jogging.
Too soon. No joking. Okay, can I just tell you, if you don't know who Brooke Astor is, she was the absolute doyenne of New York society. She was the tippy top, the queen of American aristocracy. She was, Anna Wintour was intimidated by her. First Lady Nancy Reagan tried to get her approval.
Barbara Walters, I remember, curtsied to her. It was
Jackie
like,
O
yes.
bowed down to her. I mean, like, you did not get higher than Brooke Astor. She was the fairy godmother of New York, is what they called her. In fact, she was designated as a living landmark. One of the only the landmark. They designated her as a living landmark when she was 99 years old. Her back.
Who's they?
The Landmark
Important
Commission.
people,
The
whoever's in charge.
the National Landmark Commission designated her.
Could she change her clothes after that, or she have to keep the look?
Did you ever meet her?
I never did. I was never that A-list. I never got to a party that big.
Let's have a seance.
Her backstory is so fascinating because it was her third marriage. She was sort of moving up the social ladder in the 1930s and 40s. She married Vincent Astor, who was the son of the Mrs. Astor, and whose father died on the Titanic, I believe. But the Astor fortune, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, they only were married for 5 years, and when he died, he left her $100 million, which is Bill Gates' money in 1953.
Yeah.
And he told her, he said, your job is to give away every single penny in your lifetime, and I want you to have as much fun as you can doing it.
Wow.
And she said that she used to say that money is like manure; it only works if you spread it around.
Nice.
And she was famous for the public library, the New York Public Library. She took out from ashes and built it back up to where it was. She used to she was very famous. It was like the Queen Mother, where she would go to Harlem or the South Bronx, and she would be dripping in diamonds and furs, and people would say, "Why are you dressed like that?" And her quote, I'm going to say, she said, "If I go up to Harlem and I'm not dressed up and I'm not wearing my jewelry, then people feel I'm talking down to them. People expect to see Mrs. Astor, not some dowdy old lady, and I don't intend to disappoint them."
I like that.
And it's like when the Queen Mother would visit during the Blitz, and she'd say, they dress up for me, so I dress up for them. And that was sort of her the way she lived her life.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
But the end of her life was...
Well, that's what I was just
scandal,
about to get
right?
to.
Oh,
it
right.
was
I
very
didn't want to
sad.
preempt.
No.
Preempt,
But
I should
that's
say.
exactly where I was going. I know. We're moving along, James. We're moving along. Her last years
Don't wanna
were
get
very
slapped
tragic.
down.
Yeah. Her last years were very tragic. She had a son who was just looting her mansions and penthouses.
Who was like 82 or something,
Yeah, he
right?
was 82. But he was tired of waiting around for that inheritance, and he knew it was going away. So he was stealing the art, the jewels, her last few years. She would always be in it like in a sort of like a dime store wig that was a little askew, and but she'd still be in her emeralds and everything like that. But anyway, they found her finally. She was like on a urine-soaked mattress.
That's the detail I remember. The urine-soaked couch.
And she was in a urine-soaked nightgown. She was eating cold peas out of a can with a like a popsicle stick or something like that. She was a victim of elder abuse. It was very sad for someone whose life was so big and she did so much for so many people.
It did really bring attention to elder abuse.
It did.
And what happened in the trial?
Over the next 9 or 10 years, the trial just kept going on and on and on. And he was eventually found guilty, but I think he was 90-something at the time, and they didn't. I think it was house arrest or something. I can't remember the exact. But
and it's like Jaundice and Jaundice. The sort of fortune was dissipated in the legal case.
Well,
like
actually,
billion.
she had spent all of the money by the time she reached 99.
Hence the couch.
Yeah, but she still had she had this emerald necklace that was worth like $100 million or something. I don't know, but she had money, and he looted it all. And
so she didn't spend it all.
Well, she spent all the foundation money.
She did. Good for her.
Brooke Astor passed away August 13th, 2007. 105. I mean, that's a good life, right?
Except for the end. But, we don't get to choose our endings.
No, we don't.
Okay, so number 5.
Number 5.
You'll gather round to hear our story of a young girl's dreams of fame and glory. Marilyn Monroe was her favorite idol. If she couldn't go blonde, she'd go suicidal. Well, times were tough on the minimum wage. Better try your luck on the stripper's stage. Every night she prayed till she was blessed with Dr. Johnson's double D-cup breast. Who am I talking about?
What is this?
This is
Anna Nicole.
Yes!
Oh!
Anna Nicole
Ding,
Smith.
ding, ding, of course.
Anna Nicole Smith. I'm sorry.
Who also passed away in 2007.
I'm afraid so. I'm afraid. I mean,
what a sad year.
And her story is a truly tragic, tragic story. I mean, Anna Nicole Smith, beautiful. one of the most beautiful people who ever. I mean, just stunningly, stunningly beautiful.
Guest model.
Yes, guest model. She had huge breasts, and of course, she married a very old man.
J. Howard Marshall.
Thank you.
The things you remember, James.
Well, billionaires and old family fortune.
And the family was furious because she was a gold
They
digger.
were, and they went after her, and the court case dragged on and on. In fact, it wasn't even resolved when she died.
Yeah. I thought that it was looking like she was going to get it, and then before she died, or I mean, I can't remember, but it went back and forth many times.
It did. And then, of course, I mean, look, she was from Maher, Texas. She was kind of. Oh, okay. Like, forgive me for saying it. She was white trash, really. You know,
I think she celebrated that.
Well, she certainly did, right? And she got one of the early reality shows on E.
Yes.
And when that show debuted, it was the highest-rated non-scripted show.
It was Trainwreck TV, is what it was. But you couldn't help but love her. She was so genuine.
Even in her train wreck, she was lovable and adorable.
Mm-hmm.
But there was some guilt feeling after she went that we all kind of watched
we didn't
the
do
accident
enough to
going.
help, maybe
A little bit, I think. It gave a bit of a taint to reality for a bit, I do believe.
Well, but it was the introduction of Bobby Trendy, who, God bless, 2007.
Yes, 2007.
Yes, Bobby Trendy was on the show as the interior designer.
Did she rip up all his stuff? He did his bedboard, and she hated it, and so she just slashed it.
Because Bobby Trendy was a dab hand with a staple gun and a glue gun, right? That's how a lot of the
and a box full of turkey feathers.
What's wrong with that?
Right. I mean, it was sort of theater.
But I do remember Anna Nicole was on the RuPaul show.
Yes.
Yeah, and that was one of the first times I got to see her up close and live in person, and she was absolutely just so, like, she just floated. I mean, like, her face was one of those Marilyn Monroe.
Yes.
Like, it hurt to look at it. It was.
But
so
I remember
beautiful.
where I was because she died, I believe, in Hollywood, Florida.
Yes, she did.
And I was driving because I was doing casting for Viva Hollywood. So I was in Miami and going to Fort Lauderdale to meet with someone. Right. And I was literally, it's not that I was that close, but I was just in Florida in a strange land. You know, I believe her son, she had just had a baby.
Well, this was the thing, right? She had just had a baby.
So much
Jenny
tragedy.
Lynn, and her son Daniel had died late in the previous
year.
year.
OD.
He was visiting her and the baby in hospital, and he OD'd.
He was so wonderful.
She lived. I mean, theirs was a bond, and Howard K. Stern, her lawyer turned common law husband, said that he felt really she died when her son Daniel died, and it was very.
I had forgotten about that.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So there was the train wreck of the show, and then this happened, and then and you were holding on, hoping something would turn around, like you did for Lindsay in Paris. But for her, it was a sad ending. It was heartbreaking. It is heartbreaking.
And do you remember, though, it was interesting that towards the end, like in those very messy last few months, she embraced this sort of clown look. She would have sort of white, pasty face. It was a little bit like the Joker from Batman.
Well, she did a very famous video where she was like sort of looted out of her mind.
Right, in a very creepy clown.
And she had also toward the end there, she had lost all that weight, and it was like, trim spa, baby. You remember there was the whole kind of like,
it's very. But those lyrics I was reading at the beginning are written by Gabriel Rotello for our film, Dark Roots. We made a documentary about. James is rolling his eyes. James didn't like this film.
I'll tell you something. Of all the, I love 99.9% of the World of Wonder output, and that was the one thing that I really had a visceral reaction against. I really thought that it was mean spirited, and I didn't like it at all.
Remember that at Christmas bonus time.
It's because we went Dark Roots. We went to Maher, Texas, and we found her cousins, and we brought them to LA, and that's how their cousins actually ended up on the reality show, was because after filming with us they went off and filmed on the show.
I haven't seen that one.
Well, it's on it was on Showtime. Okay, so we're going to take a quick break. Ooh, I have a trivial question.
Trivial.
It's a very trivial question.
I don't really care much about it.
Don't bother. It's too trivial.
All right. Here we go.
Okay, well, as we all know, the iPhone was introduced in 2007.
Yes.
I mean, talking about life-changing.
Yes.
But we're not talking about the iPhone now. How many iPhones are there in the world today?
I have 4.
We'll be right back after
None of
the
them
break.
work.
Yeah.
You're listening to the Wow Report on Radio Andy Sirius XM.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report.
Welcome back to the Wow Report. We are counting down the top 10 things that made us go,
Wow.
in 2007, 10 years ago.
Unbelievable.
Do you remember where you were 2007, Tom?
I was working here at World of Wonder in my second year, and everything is related to a show. We were doing Trans-American Love Story, doing Viva Hollywood. Where were you? You were here.
No, I was not. This was.
I remember you so well. I remember hanging with James. That's when I really fell in love with James.
No, 2007 is when Freak Show came out, and I was spending the advance as fast as I could, flying back and forth to New York
for the book,
trying to promote it, and flying around the country, going to readings and things like that, thinking if I spent money, I'd make money, and that's not how things work at all.
We'll talk about that after the show.
Well, did you have an iPhone? Because they came out in 2007.
No, I didn't get an iPhone until like 2010. I kept my little flip phone forever.
Did you?
I think I had either a BlackBerry or something worse, like something where you had like a little wand that came out and you could sort of.
I was addicted to the Black, and I was like, I'm never going to give you up.
I know.
To reference
And then you were rickrolled by the iPhone.
So I didn't buy an iPhone in 2007. But how many do you think are around the world today?
I'm going to say 16 billion.
I'm going to say 11 billion.
Hey, Blake, do you want to take a guess?
I'll say 1 billion.
Oh, Blake wins.
Yay.
In July of 2016, they had a big celebration because they sold their billionth iPhone.
Oh.
So that's nice. Number 4, 2007.
Number 4.
Well, Tom.
2000. I have a personal history with The View. I was there back 20 years ago when it started off. So I always try to keep track of what's going on. But I realized that 10 years ago was the Rosie O'Donnell, Elizabeth Hasselbeck feud, where Rosie essentially walked off the set. She never came back. And it was the year.
Well, and, you know, God bless her, because that Elizabeth Hasselbeck was just the worst.
And it was, I think, the year before, and I can't remember when Elizabeth came on, I think before that, but the year before, Meredith Vieira, who's kind of the soul of the show, had gone on to the Today Show. So she was on the Today Show. So they brought in Rosie, which seemed like a great idea.
Because she was the queen of it.
It
She was
was
the
a
queen of
great
night.
idea.
Queen television.
You know, she was such a nice, warm presence on her show.
Although
and then,
always kind of has, I have to say, and I love you, Rosie O'Donnell, from afar, it seems like she always has kind of a self-destructive bent, like things don't last too long.
But that's so great because she's Queen of Nice, and then it could ignite at any moment, right?
Yes.
Right.
But they were talking about Elizabeth claims that our enemies are in Iraq, which Rosie O'Donnell clarified. Our enemies are Al Qaeda, not Iraq, not innocent civilians.
And it was true.
And off we go. And supposedly the straw that broke the camel's back is Bill Getty, who was the executive producer at that time, who I knew was a good guy. He did a split screen. He split it so it became like
they were pitting the two women against each other.
And all we see now on CNN and all this stuff is those pitting things. And they pitted it together, and Rosie was like, I am out of here. To me, what's interesting, because Rosie wrote a book afterwards that I read like in an hour. You know, so I think I might have given it as a gift. I like to give like campy books, but then read them and give them to you, just in case I give you a book.
Yeah,
so
like
look for
reread.
like pizza stains. But and I'm sure time has passed and people have healed. But Rosie was kind of like it was a mean book toward Barbara Walters. And I am Team Barbara Walters. It's kind of like
you don't bite the hand. I mean, you can bitch about Elizabeth Hasselbeck, but not Barbara.
Because Rosie had the show and the magazine and kind of crashed and burned.
Yes.
And Barbara reached out and no fool Barbara, because Rosie is quite a commodity, and said come back. And then it didn't work out in a year, and it was somehow Barbara's fault. And Barbara, who was a force of nature, and I'm sure was getting older as time went on, but it's like it's Barbara Walters. You don't get invited into the castle. This pioneering woman who kind of invented the work you do, and then kind of pick on her and say she's so old, she doesn't pay attention. It's like that made me angry, Rosie. There, I said it.
They did bring on Whoopi afterwards, and it just lasted a long time. Rosie,
Yes.
I don't think has ever really recuperated from it. She picked it was during her tenure there that she picked on Donald Trump in that famous.
It
thing.
started there.
Yeah, it did, and he never
10
forgave
years later.
her.
But good for her for going after him, then identifying the evil of Trump and
No,
sticking
it's
to
very
it.
true. But I feel very bad for Rosie because I don't think that she's never been able to sort of overcome.
But didn't Rosie go back to The View for one season or something?
She did, right? She came back and left again. She didn't like it.
so,
She had
yeah.
like relationship problems. So I think when Barbara left, she came back, and they had Rosie and Whoopi, and that didn't work out.
Yeah,
Like
you
I
can't
kept
have- they're both
thinking,
alpha dogs.
Exactly. I worked in management under for Whoopi a long time ago, and she's great. And by the way, I can't stay mad at Rosie. I love Rosie. I love what she stands for.
I love her on Twitter.
I love her on Twitter.
Oh, she had a show on SiriusXM. Loved the radio show.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Had a fantastic
Come back,
radio
Rosie.
show.
I love you, Rosie. But can you imagine walking into a staff meeting at The View in the morning, and in one corner is Whoopi Goldberg, in one corner is who do you look at? Like, good morning. Like, you'd have to just because they're both such alpha people. When Barbara was there, she was, with love, the Saddam Hussein of The View, because no one overranks Barbara Walters. It was her show. It was her idea. So you knew she kept people in charge. It's when Barbara kind of went away when The View kind of imploded. Although
I can't watch it anymore.
Well,
It's
Whoopi's been there.
terrible. Yeah.
The only thing I have to say, in our Trump times, I was feeling that way because I felt like they were just going off. The View has some of the intelligent conversations. Even the conservative one now was burning Trump. Have you been watching?
No, it's just it's like a barnyard fight. It's just it's like just a bunch of screaming women, shrill. It's just noise. It's cacophony.
Unlike this show.
I really.
Louise. All right, and take a little time to enjoy The View.
James, it's number 3. It's your turn. What made you go, wow, in 2007?
Number 3.
It was really a great year for women in music. I just wanted to sort of read to you what the top songs were of that year, and let us all sort of talk about it.
Don't be afraid to sing a little too, James.
The number 1 song of the year was "Irreplaceable" by Beyonce.
To the left, to the left.
Number 2 was "Umbrella."
Ella,
Yeah. And which was arguably, I think it's Rihanna's best song ever.
the catchiest fucking song on earth.
It definitely, but please don't stop the music.
Well,
was before like
No. Well, I mean, everyone has their favorites, but this was such a huge,
It was actually
massive.
was
earworm.
defining,
It
and
was
you knew it was Rihanna.
It was the
Yeah.
"Call Me Maybe" of 2007.
It was a career defining
or
moment
Despacito.
but
You have
like
a way with words, Fenton.
But I'll tell you something. I thought of it as sort of a call me maybe, where it was so big that I didn't know if she could recover from it.
Right, she could have been a one-hit
like
wonder.
sometimes songs are so big that like if the next song doesn't perform as well, you never get another chance
She's
again.
done okay, that Rihanna.
She has. The number 3 song was "Sweet Escape" from Gwen Stefani.
Sing it.
Sweet Escape, Sweet Escape.
Was that her solo album?
It was a Sweet Escape.
It was from her second solo album. It was actually with Akon.
Ooh, 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 that one, right?
Yeah.
Something like- yeah. I'm sorry. Maybe you shouldn't have asked me to sing.
No, I love it.
Fergie was a breakout
Fergie
year.
Which
for
one?
her.
Which one?
The number 4 song of the year was "Big Girls Don't Cry."
I love that song.
With that Milo Ventimiglia, remember, in the video.
Oh, my
Remember
God,
from
yes.
This Is Us and Gilmore Girls.
I don't know if that is a filter on her, like the sound of her voice.
It's
in
like
that
honey
song.
drip. It
It's
is.
so- honey, yes.
Yeah. She also that year had Glamorous and Fergalicious, so she
Fantastic.
really reigned. She
Those, we make
How does the
like
glamorous one go? I love that one.
glamorous.
Yeah.
We
and
make
Fergalicious is just fabulously crass, right? I mean,
Fergalicious.
And
I'm Fergalicious.
we make sizzle reels for shows, and you can put any kind of music in. And I think glamorous is in every sizzle reel we've ever. Glamorous is always like the fashion thing. Glamorous.
Well, that's an evergreen song that forever,
Yes.
whenever you're trying to get glamour, you'll put that on. Carrie Underwood had the number 5 song with "Before He Cheats," which is, I mean, that is a decade-defining song
It's
right
true.
there.
I
That's one of-
love that song.
That is a good, when that comes on, that is every stripper in America is dancing. Every honky-tonk is, chugging back, their...
Doing some white trash version of Shania karaoke.
Exactly. And what is it? The bathroom polo.
Yeah.
Dipping in that bathroom polo, whatever. It was also the year of Avril Lavigne's Girlfriend. And I thought that for sure that Avril Lavigne would be the breakout star of the aughts and that she would go on to have a 20-year career, and she really did not.
No.
That, Girlfriend, and what was her other big hit?
Well, she had several before that.
Well,
Skater Boy.
Skater Boy, yeah. What was the really big one for her?
How'd you go and make things so complicated?
Yeah, complicated,
That
right?
was like 02.
Was it?
Yeah.
Wait, she had a
You're
5-year
breaking
career?
all the rules. This is a 2007 show.
I know.
James.
Wait, I didn't realize that she had a 5-year career. I thought she had one or two hits and was out. It was a huge year for women in rock, and that's it for me. I'm out.
Well, enough of this fluff. Number 2.
Number 2.
Must read 6 Degrees. This book came out in 2007. 6 Degrees, Our Future on a Hotter Planet.
That'll
and
never
I'm not
happen.
talking about Paris Hilton. And yes, by Mark
Wait, I don't
Linus.
remember this book.
This was a book about global warming. But I tell you, it turned it into a horror show. It's very simply organized. Chapter 1 was 1 degree hotter.
Wait,
Chapter 2 was 2 degrees hotter.
If the
If
climate,
Earth hots up,
right,
exactly.
if it heats up,
And
by 1 degree is the first chapter, and then the
yes.
second degree is.
Getting
I'm
the
sorry,
idea.
I'm very slow
So,
here. I'm
2, 3, 4, 5, 6 degrees is
and
chapter 6.
Really, the world changes that much with each degree?
Oh, okay, well, here we go.
Yeah.
He said that, 1 degree, 2 degrees is survivable for most humans, but a third of all species alive today may be driven to extinction.
I think James will survive.
I'm a cockroach.
3 degrees.
I'm Cher.
3 degrees, the Amazon rainforest basically spontaneously combusts.
What?
I never go there. Who
Burns down.
cares?
How? Why?
Which tips us into
Denial.
4 degrees because the positive feedback mechanisms dramatically accelerate climate change. So, for example, the ice pack melts completely. The Alps too melt, releasing deadly giant landslides as the thawing permafrost that's the glue of the Alps comes undone. 4 degrees, hundreds of billions of tons of methane from melting permafrost unleash a major extinction event because he also talks about these
Methane
ocean-
is farts, right?
Basically, yes.
Yeah.
And there's all this methane in the permafrost, and in the ocean, there are these methane hydrates from 55 million years
Like
ago.
dinosaur farts.
Yes, and it gets warmer. Old decomposed creatures gets warmer, and these things literally You're laughing. They
Dinosaur
literally
farts
explode.
got me.
We're going. How did you die?
The
I
Earth
died
erupts
from
in
dinosaur
killer
farts.
farts. Don't
yeah,
stop laughing at me.
T-Rex farts.
Killer farts in Siberia. Okay. You realize that if you take all this methane, you have 10,000 times.
So cute. Oh my God, methane.
10,000 times.
Let's say aluminium.
Fuck you. Oh, you say methane.
Yeah, we do.
10,000 times the world's stockpile of nuclear weapons. Okay. And then 6 degrees, it's basically all over. So it's an absolutely terrifying read. It really is. I mean, it's gripping. You can't stop reading it. It's
And
absolutely
Republicans
terrifying.
don't buy any of it, so not one Republican bought it.
Right, they say it's not going to happen, but it is happening because one of the things in chapter 1 he says 1 degree and most of the barrier reef will be dead. Well, they just announced the barrier reef is dead. And this was a book written 10 years ago, remember?
So-
and of course, we just had that trillion-ton megaberg, which is
Yeah, that
the
broke
size
off.
of
the
100
Antarctic.
Manhattan.
It's the size of
broke
Rhode
off.
Island, right?
Right.
And-
So
And don't forget, because I've read that there are viruses and diseases and germs
yes.
in
In
those
the
frozen
permafrost.
things
From the
They
Mesolithic
just-
area.
that
Yeah.
we have no
never mind the
immunity to.
methane farts.
Yeah.
What about the anthrax? Yep.
Yeah.
They just had an outbreak.
But did he have a
So-
timeline on this? And has it been proven or anything? What is the update on this?
Well, it was written 10 years ago, and he was just sort of saying, we're already in the...
I love that he's being so exacting. He can't remember a Beyonce song title. He's like, well, what's the update on the global warming book, Fenton?
James, we're fucked, okay? 6 degrees on Amazon. We have to take a break. I got to
take a
murder
long
James.
break.
So when we come back, we'll reveal the number one thing that made us go wow in 2007. It's the radio report. It's the wow report on Radio Andy, SiriusXM.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Welcome back to the Wow Report. We have gone into a hot tub time machine, right?
Yes.
We've been in 2007. We've been counting down the top 10 things that made us go
Wow.
In-
10 years ago.
I had
Just
hair.
10 years.
I had
Right.
hair.
Well.
No, I didn't.
Number 1.
Okay, guys. Number 1, I'm just going to say September the 10th, 2007. Yes.
MTV Video
I know.
Music Awards.
I know. And in fact, I have to thank you, Blake. But who wants to reveal? Should we let Blake say it? Name it.
It's Britney's Blackout, bitch.
It's Britney, bitch. Britney Spears had quite a 2007.
The greatest album, Blackout, is the greatest album ever released. Ever.
Okay, James.
Ever,
I agree.
ever.
Here you go. Uh-huh.
No, I know you feel this way, but
Yeah.
I just the context
Yeah.
is
Oh, yeah,
is you know no, but Paris and Lindsay were crashing and burning and not having a very good 2007. Britney had the worst of the crash and burns, and yet all of that tragedy somehow turned into the greatest album of all time.
I mean, really, no question. I first heard it. Blake, somehow you got an advance copy.
I did. I started at World of Wonder, and it was right before our Just Britney
That's why
gallery
you're still
show.
here. That's right.
We did have that. We had a Just Britney, a gallery show. We had right here in the storefront where we are right now. We had a gallery, and every month we would have a different theme. And one of the first gallery shows we did was Just Britney, and people would submit fan art of Britney Spears.
Group art show.
It was Britney Mania. Chris Crocker was around then.
Chris Crocker was
Leave
here.
Britney alone, who
Yes.
became famous in 2007.
Actually, that's what September 10th, 2007 was. That's when Chris Crocker
Released
posted Leave Britney Alone. Can't read my notes.
But, you know, Paris, if you'll remember, I'm saying Paris, Britney, if you remember, in February 18th was one day out of rehab in Sherman Oaks. And then in 2007, she checked into Malibu rehab. In July, they finalized their divorce. In August, she gets into a car accident, flees the scene. She's later charged with a hit and run. And then in the February 18th, at the beginning of the year, she got out of rehab, and that's when she shaved her head.
I was just going to ask about when the head
That was
shaving
in February. So February, shaves her head, accident, rehab, promises, and then
And all those
September
terrible wigs.
2007. Well, she had to wear wigs because
The pink wig for just,
Britney tries to make her big comeback at the MTV Music Awards, but her performance is a flop. And yet, what happened here, because everyone was, when she was a little bit off the rhythm, she seemed half into it. But as a result, everyone was playing it, probably on Perez Hilton, and the song was playing. It's when the office was a little less crowded, and we're just playing the song all day long, and we're all like, "This is a really good song."
Oh my God, it's such a great song.
Gimme,
It's funny because
It's so dark. It's this sort of disco noir. I mean, and the whole album is like that. And Blackout is a perfect title. It is this psychic breakdown of an album set to a disco beat. Is absolutely incredible.
It's so weird how she had her worst year and made the best music,
Yeah.
like Tom was
Yes.
saying.
Well, out of great pain comes great art.
In November, it debuts at #2 in the Billboard chart. And, also off that album is...
Which was the first album of hers that didn't debut at #1.
right.
But it stayed and it had...
Freak Show.
Freak Show.
Freak
Oh.
Show, which was great.
Your theme tune.
And that was the year that the book came out, so it was like perfect symbiosis.
And Piece of Me is a great song. It was so much about what was happening to her.
Is that
So
the one with Can You See Amy
I
or
want
whatever?
the right
No.
time.
That was the next album. But I also love Get Naked.
Yeah.
It's just such a insouciant song.
I love Heaven on Earth.
Oh, yes.
But it's a tragic time. And the reason we can kind of talk about it and celebrate her is that she
survived.
She survived.
Well,
And
I do want to say
thrived.
though that
Thrived.
Blake, remember, had you have an experience that you can chime in on this one.
Yes, actually, it wasn't 2000. It was just 3 days into 2008. Was when
We'll allow
Breaking
it.
the rules.
was when she had the breakdown and the ambulance came and she was gurneyed down. Well, I was having dinner in Studio City and Theron called me and said, I don't know where she lives. It's somewhere up Mulholland. So I followed the helicopters and I was actually the third car down behind the ambulance when she was going to see
You were
Sinai.
you were ambulance chasing Britney?
I was. I mean, I was just going up to see it, but as I pulled up, she pulled out, so I ended up being the third car down.
Did your Razor phone have a camera? Were you able to?
I don't-
I did take a couple of pictures on some ancient. I had an iPhone then,
Okay,
actually,
good.
the iPhone 1. But yeah, it was crazy. All the paparazzi were flying around, trying to get the shot.
Part of history. You were a part of history.
But up until that point too, in the MTV Music Awards, Britney ran the show for about half a decade, right? Her appearances with the snake, her whatever she was doing, it was the appearance.
Kissing Madonna.
But I'll tell you
Kissing
something
Madonna,
though.
thank you.
It is like the classic diva story where like a Tina Turner or something like that, where they do crash solo and then they have a magnificent comeback, and that just is part of the story and it's part of why we love her. It's Judy
kind of
Garland,
is, right?
It's
I mean,
I
I personally at the time faulted MTV for putting her on because I think they knew what they were going to get. They knew they were going to get a car crash. But at the same time, that performance, I mean, I don't know if you've seen it since. It really isn't so bad. I mean, it's not like a
I love it.
disaster. It's just not.
It's true with so many live things. It's when they're happening, everyone's tweeting and like, ah. But when you watch it again, it's like, like Madonna at the halftime show when she tripped. It's like, she didn't trip.
Right.
Like,
after laying on this spectacle beyond all spectacles. I thought it, I thought it was.
I just think it all is part of her backstory, and it all makes us love her even more. And she is beloved. She's an icon for the ages.
And you can see Britney in residence at Planet Hollywood in Vegas through the end of this year. I think New Year's Eve is the last show.
Oh.
All right.
All right.
Hey, that's all we have time for today.
It was fun.
Yeah, it was actually. It was really cool. Back in 2017, tune in to Big Frida Bounces Back, Tuesdays, 10 p.m. on Fuse. And RuPaul's Drag Race Revealed, Season 7 on Logo every Thursday at 8 p.m. Make sure to tune in to WOW's brand new show, Real Estate Wars, every Thursday, 10 p.m. Bravo. You can listen to the WOW Report anytime on the Sirius app, or you can watch us on the YouTube on WOW Presents. Yeah. And all these stories and more are posted on the WOW Report, worldofwonder.net/Radio Andy. Oh, one last thing. I got to ask you guys. I just want to throw this out there. Do you remember that? I mean, this was the early days of viral videos, right? Do you remember that Thriller video that the Philippines, the prisoners...
the prisoners, yeah.
Like in their orange suits in the courtard. That was 2007?
That was 2007. Seems like yesterday.
Remember viral videos.
And there was also, James, a legendary YouTube video about gay sex called What in the Butt. Do you remember that? I don't remember that at all.
I remember they eat the poo-poo. Remember that?
Don't remember
the
that.
African
we were doing so well until the very end of the show.
Okay. Same time, same place next week. Until then, go out and do something that makes the world go
wow.